I spent like 5 or 6 hours on the phone today, a whole bunch of appointments that were all phone calls. And in one of those appointments, somebody asked me, we were talking about the work that I do with companies, and they asked me about key performance indicators and what numbers we measure. And I started thinking about all the clients that we work with, and I started thinking about the most successful clients we work with. And there was one number that came to mind. It's the one number, like we have all kinds of operational metrics, we have all kinds of fancy KPIs, but there's one single number that we know every single day. We know it before the lights are turned off, before the doors are locked, before anybody goes home, before the last car leaves the parking lot. We know this number every single day, and it's super obvious. That one number, that super obvious number, you've probably already guessed it, is daily sales. Why is daily sales so stinking important? Think about it this way. In all the work that we do with clients around strategic plans and planning out their year and all the planning that we do, it all starts with a sales forecast. And then we take that sales forecast, and based on their historic gross margins, assuming that nothing crazy is going to change about their pricing model or their cost of raw materials or their cost of product or their labor rates or any of that stuff, we can decide based on their sales forecast and their historic gross margins what they're going to make in gross profit, right? That's a fairly simple calculation. And then we can look at their overhead budget. We can look at their hiring plans for the next year, which most companies know how many people they're going to add to support staff and all that kind of stuff. And we can determine what the overhead budget is. So if we know the sales forecast and we know the cost of goods sold or the cost to deliver that service, and we know the overhead budget, we then calculate net income. On a monthly basis, on a weekly basis, on a quarterly basis, on a daily basis, what's the one number that could change that could throw a monkey wrench into that whole system? It's not overhead. Like, you're not going to see these huge shifts in overhead. It's not like an owner's going to wake up one day and go on a hiring binge and just start hiring people left and right and drive support staff salaries through the roof. The one number that's going to change is sales, and cost of goods can't change unless sales changes. So what's the one number that we pay attention to religiously, that we know every single day before the last person turns off the lights? It's sales. Now, the great thing about having a sales forecast is that you'll be able to determine exactly what your sales number should be on a day in, day out basis, taking into account seasons and all that other stuff, every single day. What is the power of knowing what your sales number should be every single day? Well, there's not a whole lot there unless you know what your sales number actually was for that day. And when you put those two things together, my expectation for sales for the day and my actual knowledge of what sales were for the day, I have zero surprises when it comes to running my business. That's why I'm convinced the most successful clients we work with, it's not a coincidence that the one number they all share in common, that they all know every single day before they leave to go home, is their daily sales number. And mentally, they know exactly what they were supposed to make that day to hit their forecast, to make the strategic objectives of the company happen. So if you don't know what your daily sales goal should be, that's job one. Come up with a sales forecast. And if you can't measure your daily sales, you have some basic homework to do on the most important number you need to be able to pull out of your business before you go home every day. See you guys tomorrow.